This video is brought to you by Practical Music Theory for the Rock Guitarist, my new book, which is a comprehensive guide to all aspects of music theory necessary for playing rock guitar. From blues to the cycle of fifths, from understanding and using modes to choosing the right notes for a melodic solo, from pentatonic scales to chord construction and keys. It's all covered in a clear and concise manner. With accompanying video demonstrations, jam tracks and tabs, you'll learn to use the knowledge you gain in accessible ways that make sense for less than the cost of a few guitar lessons. Check out the link in the description for more details. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. I suppose it was probably in the mid or more possibly towards the late end of the 80s that collectively, I think we all started weaning ourselves off vinyl and listening as a way of listening to music, and went more towards the CD, and then even more recently, in the last 10 years or so, I think most people now use things like Spotify, and I certainly do, and streaming services like that. I know there is a bit of a resurgence in the popularity of vinyl, and I can't really say that I understand that. I lived through the misery of vinyl the first time around, having to blue tack a coin to the top of the stylus arm as you're listening to an album, because every time a truck drives past the house, your record's going to skip, and every time you're listening to your favourite record, you're actually wearing it out, and at some point you're going to have to buy it again. No, I've no desire to go back to those days, and this whole vinyl resurgence in popularity just has the tiniest whiff of the poser about it, to my mind. But anyway, that's not what I'm going to talk about today. One of the great things I think about getting away from vinyl is we got a new invention. I'm not talking about the compact disc or the mini disc, remember those, or any of the other formats. All of these devices that you played these formats on usually had a remote control, and on that remote control there was a skip button. There are surprisingly few great albums, I think, where there isn't just one track that you think, yeah, I don't ever need to hear this track again. But in the days of vinyl, you used to have to kind of get out your chair, walk over to the turntable, lift the lid, lift the needle off the record, move it over, drop it back into. Sometimes you just thought, oh, I'll just put up with it, and But nowadays we can skip tracks, so that's what I'm going to be talking about today. The 5 tracks that I routinely hit the skip button on, even on some of my favourite albums. Starting with
It's All Over Now by Molly Hatchet.
Yes, from the Flirting with Disaster album. This pretty much is the definition for me of a filler track. It's one of those songs, and if you've ever been in a band, you've done this yourself. You've got a set to put together, and there are certain songs where they take about 5 minutes to knock into a decent sort of giggable shape. They don't take a lot of rehearsing, and this was probably one of those songs. The band were probably doing this at their live shows, pre getting a record deal, and it was probably a bit of a crowd pleaser. But on the album, I don't know, that the performance just seems a little bit forced and, dare I say it, even contrived. It's just not in keeping with the rest of the album either. If you're not familiar with the Flirting with Disaster album, then I recommend you go and check it out. I'm sure you probably are, but I know there are some people that I speak to that aren't familiar with this band. Just great, slightly, ever so slightly proggy kind of in terms of the complexity type southern rock songs. Interestingly, Molly Hatchet never really acknowledged that they were a southern rock band. They said, well, we're from the south and we play rock, but that doesn't make us a southern rock band. Oh yes, it does, lads. Honestly, it does. One of my favourite albums, but this song, it's just, I never ever need to hear their version of this old Stones tune ever again. It just doesn't work for me, so that's why I always hit skip on this one. Next,
That Kind of Woman by Gary Moore.
Yeah, there will be plenty of people who are familiar with this channel who will be surprised that I would skip over any Gary Moore song, and especially off this album. For me, I don't think he ever recorded a better album than Still Got the Blues. That was the pinnacle for me. And this is a collaboration between Gary and his mate who lived just up the road at the time, George Harrison. There is actually another version of this song. I think George offered it to Eric Clapton, and it was recorded during the sessions for the Journeyman album back in about 1989. And for whatever reason, Eric didn't take it up on it. I have actually heard that version. It was played on a radio show I talk about quite a lot in these kind of videos. The Saturday Sequence with, I think it was either Richard Skinner or Johnny Walker. Basically, it was on Radio 1 in the late 80s and early 90s, where they used to kick all the teeny boppers out the building and play some real music. And I seem to remember enjoying that version of this song much more than the Gary Moore version. It doesn't sound like a song that fits on that album. It's not a blues, and the clue is in the title of the album, Still Got the Blues. It's not really a bad song. It just doesn't fit in the context of this album. It just seems out of place. It's like, what would be the analogy? Okay, I like curry, as you may know, and I also like a traditional English fried breakfast, bacon, eggs, sausage, all that kind of stuff, but I don't want curry sauce on it. That is how the song seems out of place on this album. If Gary, well, he's not around anymore, is he? But if Gary was going to, invite his pal George round for a jam, could we have just had like some epic blues jam where Gary's kind of firing away on all cylinders with his blistering, shreddy blues rock kind of shenanigans, and George is wailing away on slide? That would have been an absolutely epic thing to hear. But no, we just got this kind of rather out of place song instead. And again, that's why I always hit the skip button on this one. Next.
Angel Eyes by Jeff Healey.
I can't overstate how much of an impact that Jeff Healey's first album, See the Light, had on me. It was like being kind of punched in the chest. It was that much of an impact. Punched in the chest in a good way, if there is such a thing. Anyway, but yeah, just an absolutely fantastic album. I've been rediscovering it again lately. You know, when you don't listen to an album for a while, and because you've played it, you just decide to give it a little bit of a rest, and then you go back to it, and it's like hearing it for the first time. That's what I've been doing with this album recently. It's absolutely full of stupendously great guitar playing. Bluesy, rock, jamming, kind of slight country elements in there as well, on perhaps songs like River of No Return. That's got maybe a slight kind of, to my ears anyway, a slight sort of Americana kind of, not exactly Dolly Parton country, but, it could fit in the set of a country band with a slightly different arrangement. Anyway, but the one song that just kind of screams, I don't belong here, for me, is Angel Eyes. Just this cheesy, sappy, kind of weak, lame, schmaltzy power ballad that is just so out of place with all of the rest of the, kicking blues, rock, blistering playing, some great guitar dueling between Jeff and Robbie Blunt, who guested on this album. All of the songs, like See the Light, title track, brilliant. The version of Hideaway off that album, Confidence Man, River of No Return, I Need to Be Loved, Blue Jean Blues, all the great songs on that album. And then you just hit this, as I say, rather weak ballad. It just seems to be, I don't know. The album is strong enough without it. It's long enough without it. It shouldn't have been on there, and I always hit skip. Next.
S&M by Thin Lizzy.
Yeah, back to a bit of Gary Moore again when he was in Thin Lizzy. I think this was the final time he was in Thin Lizzy for the Black Rose album. By a Country Mile, my favourite Thin Lizzy album. Live and Dangerous comes close, and perhaps... after that, they're all kind of, it's hard to separate them, but certainly, the gold medal position goes to the Black Rose album. And it's just such great songs on there. The title track, what a song. What an absolutely epic song. Do Anything You Want To, Waiting for an Alibi, Got to Give It Up, I think that's on there as well, isn't it? Just a brilliant, brilliant album. Apart from this track on the first side, this rather, what have I written down here? Clumsy sounding attempt at funk. That's what I've got written down here. And that pretty much sums it up for me. And it's not like Thin Lizzy couldn't get their funky trousers on when the mood took them. I mean, Dancing in the Moonlight's got a little bit of that kind of feel about it. But, go and listen to on the Jailbreak album. What's a song called? Romeo and the Lonely Girl. What a fantastic, just toe-tapping kind of syncopated funk pop rock. And, they were really kind of doing it well there. But this song on here, again, I never need to hear it again, and I always hit the skip button. Next.
Thorn Tree in the Garden by Derek and the Dominos.
Yeah, I don't need to hit the skip button with this one because it's the final track on the album. Again, the album was plenty long enough without this. What have I written down here? Kind of hippie, subpar, Ventura Highway pap is what I've written down on it. It sounds like, kind of, whereas the whole rest of the album is kind of, earthy, kind of gritty, bluesy rock. Even the ballads, on there, things like, Bell Bottom Blues, that could be like the token ballad that would seem out of place, but it doesn't. It fits perfectly in the context of the album. And, Key to the Highway, Have You Ever Loved a Woman, Any Day, Nobody Knows You When You're Down and Out, and of course, the title track, Layla. It's just sonic heaven for me. As I've said many times, Eric Clapton has never recorded a better album than this since, when did it come out? 1970. So we're talking, 54 years ago. He's done albums which have come close and a lot that haven't got anywhere near close, but nothing has surpassed this Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs album, apart from this final track on the album, which is just, I dislike it. It's not like the George Harrison one, That Kind of Woman, which is a pretty good song. It's just out of context on that album. This isn't even that, it's just not a great song. I just don't like it. It's testament to the strength of the rest of the album, though, that I would still give this album 10 out of 10, in all regards, even with this song on it, because everything else just kind of more than counterbalances this weak closing track. And I say you don't have to use the skip button, you can use the stop button when it comes to this song. So there you go. Those are the 5 songs that I routinely skip past. Songs that are just out of context or I just don't like. I'm sure you have a list of your own. Let me know what those are down in the comments. But that is the video for today, folks. Hope you've found it entertaining in some small way, and if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not drop me a like as well while you're at it. Don't forget the live stream every Friday, 5 p.m. UK time, where we drink beer and talk about stuff. It's a great way to kick off the weekend, and I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folk. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.